Hello viewer, my name's Don and this show describes a trip done in July 1958 from Belleville, Ontario, across Canada and back through the northern USA. My father's driving, I think it's a 1954 Oldsmobile, and we're pulling a caravan. There's 3 children, myself, age 11, my brother, aged 8, George, my sister, age 16, Margaret. Another view of the car in winter. Our route goes from Belleville to Toronto, then north around the Great Lakes to Winnipeg, across the prairies to Calgary, Banff, Vancouver, and then back to the northern USA by way of Yellowstone National Park. From the Sanya Bridge, we watched the cruise ships on the Great Lakes. The Sault Ste. Marie locks are busy with cruise ships. Watching these massive ships glide through the locks is very impressionable on an 11-year-old boy. No photos in northern Ontario. We reached the prairies and are traveling through Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, the flatland. We reached Gull Lake in central Alberta to visit friends. The Calgary Caravan Park in our first major stop. The cement dinosaurs at St. George's Park are very impressive. I'm oblivious to the brontosaurus in the background, but given the chance I'm halfway up the back, like a monkey. Wonderful flower beds at St. George's Park. From Calgary, we decided to do a short trip south to High River and visit family friends at Nathan. A Sioux encampment at High River, here for the parade and a rodeo win. My father Ernie takes lots of photos of the High River parade. Fort McLeod today is a small community outside of Calgary with a large reconstructed fort. We all get a chance to ride a horse in Nathan at my father's friend. Myself, Don, my brother George. My sister Margaret on a horse. She's an excellent horse rider. Leaving the prairies and the bison, we head west towards the Rocky Mountains. We're soon into hilly country and wildlife. Feeding bears is a basic practice. Here, we are feeding mountain goats. There's also wild elk. The Athabasca Valley, it's our first exposure to snow in the summer, and we go to explore. Mount Norquay is still a famous ski area. We stopped to admire Bull Lake. And the scenery is magnificent. Mount Temple is very scenic, and we camped for the night. We reached Banff Trailer Park, which is cold, rainy, and empty. A view from the Banff Trailer Park. The Banff Jasper Airport in 1958. overlooking the town of Banff. Banff in 1958 was quite small. The famous Banff Hotel. And Lake Louise. A close-up of Lake Louise. Leaving Banff, we head out on the Banff-Jasper Road, headed north. Mount McClellan and Moore. It used to be called Mount Eisenhower, but in 1979 the name was changed to Castle Mountain. Castle Mountain is highly scenic in Banff-Jasper Park. Mount Rundle. My dad took great delight in getting George and I to pose for photographs, although usually he got us to look at the scenery. We drop in to see the Columbia ice fields, 1958. They've retracted now. My mother is finding it quite cold, although we seem comfortable enough. We're all dressed pretty warmly here at the Columbia ice fields. From Banff-Jasper, we're to do a very interesting trip on what's called the Big Bend Highway to Golden Glacier National Park, Revelstoke, and on to Kelowna. It's now called Highway 23. It passes along some very interesting rivers and mountains. 1958, it was a very rough gravel road. North Saskatchewan River. I wouldn't want to try canoeing this river. I wonder if that's the Canadian Pacific Railway on the left. Silvertip Falls on the Big Bend Highway. The Selkirk Mountains along the Big Bend Highway. The scenery is magnificent along the Big Bend country that follows the Big Bend of the Columbia River. We set up camp at Golden, BC. From there we move on to Revelstoke and down into the Okanagan Valley. In Revelstoke we drop in to visit the Battens, friends of my parents. This stop is called Boat Encampment and marks a historical site. Our dog Kim, who we had for 18 years, and the 3 children. My parents worked in the Okanagan Valley during the 1930s as school teachers, the area shown in red. They moved around from towns like Vernon, all over Kelowna and Penticton. George and I look at Okanagan Lake. My sister Margaret and my mother Hazel. Drop in to see other friends of my mother's, the Minis, magnificent garden. We take full advantage of their pool. The landscape in the Okanagan is very dry and hot in summer. The Falconer family in Vernon, BC. Downtown Kelowna and the lake. Gallagher's Lake, all over BC. McIntyre Bluff in all over BC. We head south to the Similkameen area along the U.S. border, south of the Okanagan, shown in red. We pass Skaha Lake, south of Okanagan Lake. We look at the Coldstream Valley from Kalamauka Lake. A view of the Similkameen Valley. Similkameen Falls. Vassal Lake, BC. Well, it's time to head from the Okanagan on Highway 3 to Highway 1 and Vancouver. We're moving west on the Hope-Princeton Road. A map of Vancouver. We're going to visit Horseshoe Bay, White Rock, and Burnaby. Boundary Bay near White Rock. My Auntie Sarah, Albert's wife. Albert is my father, Ernie Pugh's brother. I look really cold. We admire this gigantic tree that we can drive our car through. Albert Pugh, a former tugboat captain, looks at the Fraser River, first Narrows. Albert died in 2 years from this photo, 1960. Albert and Sarah walk along Lions Park. Albert and Sarah Pugh's house in White Rock. These totem poles are located at Prospect Point, Vancouver. A totem house at University of British Columbia, Vancouver. A view of Vancouver from Mount Burnaby. Little Mountain Park. I think they've changed the name. Not sure if it's called Stanley Park now. A view of Vancouver from Little Mountain Park. Seals frolic at Stanley Park. The highway to Horseshoe Bay, where you catch the ferry to Victoria, Vancouver Island. Grouse Mountain overlooking Vancouver. Fisherman's Cove, Vancouver. A view of the Fraser River Delta from Mount Seymour. We drive south from Vancouver across the Canadian-USA border into the state of Washington. We see the Skagit River and its magnificent hills. We pass Copper Mountain, a ghost town in Washington. Horse Heaven Hills, a fertile wheat area in the state of Washington. Sagebrush in Horse Heaven Hills, Washington. Our next stop is Mount Rainier. Our route lies south through the state of Washington to the state of Oregon, and then east into the state of Idaho, and finally Wyoming with its Yellowstone National Park. Flower beds at Mount Rainier. We are at Mount Rainier, looking east. Another view of Mount Rainier, looking east, with myself, George, and my dad, Ernie. What a magnificent mountain from the east side. An excellent view of Emmons Glacier on Mount Rainier, Washington. A view of Mount Rainier Lake looking north. We enter the wheat fields of Oregon to the south of the state of Washington. This is the Oregon Trail East in the state of Oregon. The East Oregon Trail. Some badlands in the state of Oregon. Wheat crops of Pendleton, Oregon. Cattle ranching in Oregon. This is a view of the Twin View. The state of Idaho. We stopped to look at craters of the moon, one of the larger lava beds in the USA. Our next stop is the Umatilla Range, shown by the little red A on the map. Mount Rainier National Park's the upper left, and the Pendleton wheat area is nearby to the bottom. The magnificent scenery of the Umatilla Range. The highlight of our trip was unquestionably Yellowstone Park. We reached the headwaters of the Yellowstone River. The Yellowstone River has cut its way through a tremendous valley. It falls on the Firestone River, which flows into the Yellowstone River. The lower Yellowstone Falls of Yellowstone National Park. It's tremendous. Yet another and much closer view reveals the majestic power of this waterfall. Here's the Yellowstone River Fishing Bridge, very popular fishing spot for tourists. And a view of Yellowstone Lake We stop and camp at the Yellowstone Caravan or Trailer Park. Bison roam freely in Yellowstone Park and are protected. The first of many small geysers that we explored, and I was warned to stay on the wooden walkways. George and myself admire the Emerald Pool. Not sure how to say this. Clipshydra and Jet Geyser, Yellowstone. And we got that pronunciation right. The covered rocks. Fire Lake, Yellowstone National Park. Fire Lake, yet again. A hot thermal area in Yellowstone. George, Sejal, and Margaret look at the Morning Glory Pool. Another view of the Morning Glory Pool. The Paint Pot. The Punch Bowl Spring, Yellowstone. The Upper Area Giant Cone. The Middle Area Lakes or Pools. The Middle Thermal Area. Sapphire Pool with George and myself. The Yellowstone Giant Geyser Cone. Old Faithful Geyser lets off steam, always at the same time. So much. We're heading east from Yellowstone Park to the state of Wyoming. From there, we'll proceed east to South Dakota, then up to Minnesota, and across to Wisconsin. We reached Cody, in the site of the Granite Pass, Wyoming. A view of Granite Pass. Buffalo Bill Canyon near Cody Pass, Wyoming. We reached the Bighorn rangeland of Wyoming at 9,000 feet above sea level. Beautiful rolling countryside, the Bighorn Hills. More view of the Bighorn Hills, Wyoming ranch country. On the east side of Wyoming, we're going to pay a visit to Devil's Tower, which is quite an amazing feature of the topography. It stands out for many miles. Certainly not a structure you would want to have to climb. The Devil's Tower trading post in 1958 provided tour supplies, lunches, groceries, gas, and horseback trips. A magnificent close-up view of Devil's Tower. Leaving Wyoming, we entered the west side of South Dakota. We're headed firstly towards Mount Rushmore National Memorial. I guess everyone has seen these carvings. Can you name the 4 presidents? My guess is Jefferson, Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Near the Mount Rushmore National Park in South Dakota is the South Dakota Bad Dance. And they are bad, so they're not much good for agriculture. Interesting photo with the S-bend in the road. Myself, Don, my sister Margaret, admire the rugged landscape. It's almost like sandpaper. The wild flowers in the foreground provide an entertaining contrast to the barren Badlands. A rather lovely panoramic view of the Badlands in 1958. From South Dakota, we push on into the state of Minnesota, which is mainly wooded, fairly flat or gently rolling farming country. This picture was taken in western Minnesota. We moved south from Minnesota to clear the Great Lakes into Wisconsin. We stop at Duluth, where we encounter heavy rain and quite a serious flood. Flooding in Duluth. Look at those somber skies. Wisconsin farmlands. We reach Ashland, Wisconsin, where there's quite a good timber industry. From Wisconsin, we push on through Michigan, headed towards Sarnia and home. We pass some rolling sand dunes on Lake Michigan. Our last photo of the trip was taken in Oswego, Michigan, with the family by the trailer. Thank you for joining me, dear viewer, on this 1958 trip across Canada and back through the northern USA. My brother George is a doctor in Vancouver with 3 children, while my sister is a retired school teacher with 2 children and grandchildren. Thanks for joining us, dear viewer, and I hope you have a great day.